Good morning. It's Friday, August 14th, 2015. This is your morning edition on I-24 News. Coming up later today, as the U.S. ups its involvement in the war against the Islamic State, reports emerge that the jihadists have used chemical weapons against Kurdish fighters in Iraq. John Kerry is set to become the first U.S. Secretary of State to visit Havana since 1945. And later on in the show, our culture correspondent, Roni Stav, is standing by ahead of Tel Aviv's annual Slut Walk, where women are gathering for the city's annual solidarity protest against sexual violence in Israel and across the world. Good morning, Roni. We will get to you later. And good morning, I'm Meredith Ross. We begin this morning with reports by U.S. officials that Islamic State militants have likely used mustard gas against Kurdish fighters in Iraq. The statement that first appeared in the Wall Street Journal was later augmented by a German Defense Ministry statement saying that some 60 Kurdish fighters suffered from breathing difficulties as a result of the attack. While it is uncertain how the group had obtained the nerve agent, it is believed that it was either a remnant of Saddam Hussein's chemical weapons stockpile or that it was brought over from Syria. Meanwhile, the war against the Islamic State terror group intensified yesterday as U.S. aircraft carried out the first manned strikes targeting jihadist militants in Syria from within Turkish territory. Ankara agreed last month to open its bases to the U.S.-led coalition after years of reluctance to take a frontline role against the Islamist fighters pressing on its borders, fearing reprisals. Turkey itself has been carrying out airstrikes against the group, but has said it will not send in ground troops for the time being. And early Thursday, ISIS carried out a major attack in Baghdad when an explosive-rigged truck blew up in a market, killing or wounding more than 100 people. And to discuss the recent developments, I am joined in studio by security analyst and president of the Levantine Group, Daniel Niesman. Good morning, Daniel. Thanks for joining us. And I-24 News Middle East analyst Ali Wackett. Good morning, Ali. But first, let's watch this report, and we'll take it from there.
General Ray Odierno, the U.S. Army Chief of Staff, is leaving his post after nearly 4 years. On Wednesday, he held a press conference at the Pentagon in which he allowed himself some comments of the type rarely heard from an officer in uniform. Odierno, who was heavily involved in both Gulf Wars and also served as commander of U.S. troops in Iraq, noted that if progress is not made in the coming months, then embedding U.S. troops with Iraqi forces on the ground may be the only way to deal a decisive blow to the Islamic State group.
That doesn't mean they would be fighting, but it would be, maybe bedding them and moving with them. I think that's an option we should present to the president when the time is right.
While stressing that the solution in Iraq is not only military, Odierno admitted that reconciliation between Sunnis and Shiites was becoming, quote, more difficult by the day. Though the Obama administration continues to back the Shiite-dominated government of Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi, General Odierno noted that eventually there may be no alternative to Iraq being split up between its different religious and ethnic groups.
That's something that could happen. It might be the only solution, but I'm not ready to say that yet.
It's certainly a far cry from the U.S.'s initial approach to its second invasion of Iraq. According to a former U.S. diplomat, in January 2003, just 2 months before the invasion, President George W. Bush was unaware of the distinction between Sunni and Shia Muslims, the most significant religious divide in the Middle East. But during the American military involvement in Iraq that followed and that lasted well beyond his time in office, the former president learned some painful lessons, which enabled him to make a series of insightful predictions.
There needs to be a serious discussion about what happens if we create a vacuum into which radical movements flow. They seek to establish a radical Islamic caliphate so they can impose a brutal new order on unwilling people. If you're worried about Iran, then it's really important that people understand the consequences of us leaving before the job is done. Withdrawal would have increased the probability that coalition troops would be forced to return to Iraq one day and confront an enemy that is even more dangerous.
And we're joined now live from Erbil in Iraq by journalist Mohamed Saleh. Good morning, Mohamed, and thank you for being with us. Now, tell us about the reported chemical weapons attack ISIS carried out against Kurdish Peshmerga fighters. It happened not far from where you are, correct?
Yes, exactly. It is not very far, probably between 40 to 50 kilometers. And this happened on Wednesday or sometime probably on the night of Tuesday and Wednesday. And according to the Kurdish Peshmerga sources, around 45 rockets that contained chemical materials have been used in the recent attacks.
That's certainly a very upsetting development. Now, is there any news on where they could have retrieved these chemical weapons?
It is not really very clear. There have been reports in the past that some of the chemical arsenal from Saddam Hussein might have been still scattered around the country, and we should not also forget that some of ISIS military officers are the same group of people who also used to serve under Saddam Hussein. There have been also reports that the material might have been retrieved from somewhere in Syria. And we also had reports actually last year that in the University of Mosul, in one of the labs, there were chemical materials, and so basically there are a number of ways that they could have obtained these materials.
Right, and you know, I want to talk about the attack yesterday in Sadr City in Baghdad. So tell us how the Iraqi people are feeling, first of all. I mean, what do they expect from the government, and do they even believe in the government's ability to handle the situation?
It is very, very difficult, and the government has not really been able to stop these kind of attacks. And we have unfortunately seen scores of attacks over the past few weeks and months. This does definitely cast doubt on the capabilities of the government security forces to be able to protect people. But at the same time, it's not really a secret that the government does not have the capabilities to offer protection to basically its people from such kind of attacks, and this is definitely nothing new, and this has been more or less the norm over the past decade or so. But the Islamic State, given that they have not been able to make it to Baghdad in the form of a ground invasion, they would do anything to destabilize the city. So these kind of attacks should not be really seen as surprising.
I see. Well, Mohamed, do stay on the line with us. We're just going to bring it back to studio now, the discussion. We'll begin with you, Daniel. So what is the significance that Islamic State was able to strike in Baghdad yesterday?
Well, first of all, it's important to understand that there are bombings in Baghdad, multiple bombings on a daily basis. The majority are probably carried out by ISIS sleeper cells or things of that nature. What's notable about this attack is that it's in a Shiite stronghold. It was a mass casualty event, the likes of which we have not seen in a very long time. And we have seen an increase of attacks in Shiite areas in northeast Baghdad into the northeast of Baghdad ever since the Iraqi military has launched its offensives on the Anbar province. And in addition, several weeks ago, the Iraqi government also lifted a nightly curfew. So what these attacks are trying to do is they're trying to decrease faith in the government. They're trying to get the government to reimpose some of these very inconvenient security measures in Baghdad, but also re-divert forces from ISIS's key fronts in the Anbar province by striking and trying to get these Shiite militias to come back and protect their own populations.
So Ali, excuse me, moving now to you based on what you just said. So is it working then? Are these tactics working to get the people to go against the government, to not believe in them anymore and give up hope?
Yeah, for the moment, we're seeing that people in Iraq are going down to the streets based on social issues like the cuts of the electricity and other social issues. Yet, I think that most of the Shiites, even if they are not, if they don't agree with the government on social issues, will back any measure of the government when it comes to security issues and when it comes to put an end to the atrocities that are carried out by the Islamic State. I want to point to something very interesting. What we heard from the Chief of Staff of the American Army saying that this is a possibility to divide Iraq on ethnical base, plus what we are seeing in Syria, in Zabadani, when Hezbollah and Iran, when they are negotiating with the rebels, they are demanding the evacuation of all Sunnis from the region of Zabadani, which means that the ethnical division of states, Syria and Iraq, is no more a theory, is no more a slogan, but is something that can be negotiated between the different powers that are acting in the region, and this can be one of the solutions. By the way, the Islamic State is accelerating its attacks because it is feeling that there is a change in the attitude of some countries that were considered to sponsor or at least to support him, like Turkey and Saudi Arabia, for example. This is why he is leading this campaign in order also to recruit more fighters into its ranks. And I'm afraid that in the coming weeks, as long there is this diplomatic initiative, this diplomatic dynamism, that the Islamic State will accelerate its attacks.
Well, let's certainly hope not. But Mohamed, I want to come back to you. We know that a top American general said in the recent days that perhaps they should embed American soldiers with Iraqi troops, and also an Australian member of parliament proposed a similar idea. How would Iraqis feel about that, considering another idea of a Western presence again?
It really depends on who you are talking to in Iraq. So if you are speaking to the Kurds, and if you want the opinion of the Kurds, they would be very much happy about the return of American troops to the country. The same applies to a lot of the Sunnis who do not really have much trust in the Iraqi army or the Shiite paramilitary groups. But the vast majority of the Shia public opinion in the country seems to be against the return of American troops to the country. And the paramilitary groups have essentially made it clear that they do not want to be involved in any sort of military operation that is dominated or prominently led by the U.S. Troops or U.S. military. And we saw this in the case of Tikrit, that they halted their participation in the operation there for a while when the U.S. aircraft got involved. So this is definitely a very sensitive issue and a very divisive one.
Yes, very divisive indeed. But Daniel, is this even in the cards? I mean, will the U.S. get involved again in this way?
I don't think so, not conceivably in the near future. In the end, they're still trying to figure out what allies they can work with, both outside of Iraq and Syria and inside. And I think that that they're having enough difficulty basically establishing a presence on the ground by proxies, let alone establishing safe areas or areas to operate from in places like Turkey. And then in the meantime, you've got the whole situation with the regional dynamic with the Iran deal, and inserting any sort of changing the dynamic like that at a time of such incredible regional change, I do not think is in the cards.
And we want to address another issue now. Following its successes on the battlefield, ISIS is now trying to make gains in cyber warfare too. The group boasted yesterday that its members had hacked into computers of U.S. military and government personnel and released their information, urging supporters to attack those listed, a claim that was subsequently played down by U.S. officials. So regarding that case, which side do you believe there? I mean, you want to believe the U.S. when they say that this is wrong. There were inconsistencies such as Gmail accounts where you have to have an 8-character password, and on this ISIS list there were three characters. So what do we make of that?
I think it's more of the ISIS attacks of cyber attacks, or have long been sort of. Have been compared to instead of going into a sensitive installation and stealing files, more like going into the lobby and spraying graffiti. But for ISIS, that actually achieves what they're trying to do. It gets a lot of publicity, and it makes people very, very concerned. Meaning what they've been able to do with a few, possibly even amateur hacktivists, is to get thousands of U.S. military personnel on another continent to be very, very concerned. We've seen this in the past where they've been able to hack Pentagon websites, Twitter accounts, and things like that, and it serves their overall purpose, which is drawing attention to them, expanding their sphere of influence, without necessarily causing any sort of real damage.
Well, I read that the ISIS, its top hacker per se, is the number 3 on the CIA's top kill list. So how savvy are they becoming with cyber warfare? I mean, this is just another angle in which they're hitting from. But ISIS is becoming pretty savvy.
ISIS is becoming pretty savvy, and from the very beginning, they considered the virtual sphere as a place that they should lead also this war against the United States and against everybody that is against them. And when they are trying to recruit, and in the networks, for example, when you hear some of the list of indictments of the French police against cells that were dismantled in Paris, you know that they were selecting the people, or at least some of the people that they wanted to recruit, and they want them to be with technological background so they can serve. So ISIS is looking for people not only to be a part of the front of the direct confrontation with other militias or militaries, but they are looking for people that they can be part of their logistic effort, but no doubt part of their cyber and virtual effort.
Well, so they certainly do have an understanding that is the quickest link to anyone around the world, and especially to young people whose minds are so easily formed. So, Ali, thank you very much for being with us. Daniel, you as well. And Mohamed, I hope you're still with us. Thank you for joining us this morning. And let's now say good morning to Ami Kaufman, who joins us daily to discuss the news we've missed while scanning the headlines, or the headlines deemed worthy to print. Good morning.
Good morning, Meredith. How are you?
Good, good.
We're going to start with China with that huge explosion that happened Wednesday night in the Chinese port of Tianjin. Those explosions, as The Guardian is reporting, were so huge that they were actually seen from space. As you can see from this picture, that little white dot there, that is the explosion from a satellite image seen from space. The death toll is up to 50. 700 people have been admitted to hospitals, and 71 of those are in severe condition. So we're probably going to see that number going up in the next day or two.
And it was a series of blasts. It was a
series of blasts,
smallish blast, and then a massive blast.
Massive blast. And Chinese authorities are not saying exactly what was in that blast, if it was explosive, if it was anything else. Social media users are complaining that their posts about the disaster have been deleted, because we know the Chinese authorities are very, they hold the media very tightly and social media very tightly. Greenpeace is saying that the situation in Tianjin, which is home to about 14 million people, it's a very big city, remained volatile and potentially dangerous. We are concerned, they say, that certain chemicals will continue to pose a risk to the residents of Tianjin. So very, very dark situation there.
Very upsetting, yeah.
Here, very close to home, a Gaza football team is going to be allowed to leave the Gaza Strip, even though there's a blockade, of course, Israeli blockade around the Strip, and go play in the West Bank in Hebron. That game is going to happen today. Nice news, and we have a report about it.
Okay, let's have a look.
From war-torn Gaza and its Shaja'iyya neighborhood to Jerusalem and the West Bank city of Hebron, a few days of delay, football players from the Gaza Strip were able to exit the coastal enclave for the return leg of a match seen as a symbolic step towards Palestinian unity. But the crossing didn't go without controversy. Initially, the game was set for last Sunday, but was postponed after Israel asked 4 members of Shaja'iyya 37-member delegation to go through security interviews as a condition for leaving Gaza. A condition the Palestinian Football Association and its president Jibril Rajoub categorically refused. 2 months ago, Mr. Rajoub declared war on Israel when he asked FIFA to expel Israel from the Football Association for its policy towards Palestinian athletes. The outcome was a tie. Israel is still in FIFA, and Palestinian athletes are allowed to play in the West Bank. Major Adam Avidan, from the Coordinator of Government Activities in the Territories, says that Israel did its best to let the entire team's trip go smoothly.
We requested these 4 to arrive at the terminal a day in advance, to be interviewed, and then to join the whole team on the day after, that they could cross smoothly and as fast as possible. So there will not be any delays, and the whole team will be able to cross together. Unfortunately, the Palestinians refused to this solution and decided that they will send all of them on the same day.
Still, Israeli interrogators interviewed 3 players for close to 2 hours before giving them permission to enter. As is the case in the Middle East, politics must leave its footprint on everything, including sports.
We do not believe what the Israeli occupation says. We categorically reject any athlete to undergo security interrogation or for politics to interfere in sport.
For many of the team's players, It was their first time out of Gaza. And for all of them, a first time seeing an Israeli soldier face to face. But when people start talking about common things, like football, they tend to set their differences aside. The team bus left the crossing point for Jerusalem. It was their first time ever in the holy city. A solemn feeling for many. They walked around, many in disbelief. They had only dreamed of visiting this place.
Unbelievable feeling. It's my first time in the West Bank, my first time praying at Al-Aqsa. Whatever I say, I won't be able to describe my feelings.
After praying, they headed south to Hebron, where they were giving a hero's welcome. People looked from balconies and windows and held signs along the sidewalks. With police escort, the team eventually arrived at their hotel. At the press conference, the Shuja'iyya team president, Naif al-Hattab, said being here is a sign that the Israeli sports embargo on Gaza has ended and that this visit will help bridge the gap between the politically divided Palestinians.
There is no difference between us, no division. We did what politicians failed to accomplish.
The game will take place Friday night, and the winner will represent Palestine in the Asia Cup. But for many Palestinians, the game score isn't as important as turning the page on their political divide.
Now that's a really nice story.
It's a nice story.
Yeah.
It's good news. Finally, good news from the region.
Yeah, it's really nice.
But to bring it down again,
I
have to do that. I'm sorry. UNRWA, which is the UN Palestinian Refugee Relief Agency, says its funds are depleted and they're threatening the reopening of 700 schools. This means that the jobs of about 22,000 teachers are in danger and 500,000 Palestinian students might not go to school on August 25th when they were supposed to open the schools. And this is in the West Bank, this is in the Gaza Strip, in Lebanon, Jordan, and Syria for all these Palestinian
across the Middle East,
refugees. UNRWA is they might even stop their reconstruction efforts in Gaza. They were supposed to invest $750 million in Gaza for reconstruction, and they've so far received a budget of only a third of that amount. The UNRWA officials are attributing their financial crisis to the large expenses that they had, that the agency has incurred in Syria as a result of the civil war there and the outlays resulting from last year's fighting in Gaza.
Right,
so,
certainly makes sense. I mean, people are really in turmoil there, and then there's, I mean, we spoke with the spokesman, Chris Gunnis, not so long ago about the situation in Syria and the Palestinian refugees there, and it's
very tough situation, though.
Heinous. It is. So.
Off to Britain, Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks. He's got some kind of good news and bad news. The Swedish authorities are dropping two charges against him of sexual molestation.
It's kind of a strange headline. You would think there's a typo in there.
No, he is yeah. I'll get to that. Well, first of all, they're dropping these charges because they didn't have time to question him. There is still a charge of rape that will last until the 17th of August, 2020, and that investigation will continue. But he's saying that he's disappointed because he's extremely disappointed because the Swedish prosecutor had avoided hearing his side of the story. To quote him, "There was no need for any of this. I am an innocent man. I haven't even been charged," which is basically true. He hasn't been charged. What's another interesting development is that the UK is going to make a formal protest to the government of Ecuador, which is where he's staying at that embassy in London, to pay for the costs of guarding the embassy because he's staying there. They want £12 million from the Ecuadorian government. So we'll see. So that's a little diplomatic crisis there already. It'll be interesting. And sticking with WikiLeaks brings us to our next story. Chelsea Manning, formerly known as Bradley Manning, but she is now Chelsea Manning. She is, of course, serving a 35-year prison sentence for leaking government documents to WikiLeaks. She's been threatened to be in indefinite solitary confinement, but listen, for what? For possessing expired toothpaste. That's only one of the charges against her.
That is very bizarre.
And for sweeping food onto the floor when she was in the mess hall and having her lunch or dinner or whatever it was.
These are military charges?
These are military, well, it's in a military jail, I guess you'd call it. She's also being accused of disrespect for requesting her lawyer while speaking to a guard. She was disrespectful to a guard. And for holding prohibited property, for owning books and magazines that include the Caitlyn Jenner cover issue of Vanity Fair. So I think they're really being a little tough on this woman.
That's a little tough. I mean, you would think leaking classified documents is enough.
Yeah,
of a charge.
Come on, let the woman hold a copy of Vanity Fair if she wants to, and toothpaste. I mean, this is a bit outrageous. If you ask me.
That is a bit outrageous. Wow. Okay, well, don't envy her. Do not envy her.
It is going to be a very historic day today in Cuba, as John Kerry, the Secretary of State of the United States, will be traveling to Havana to visit the U.S. Embassy that has already been reopened in July, past July 20. This is the first time that a Secretary of State will be there after 54 years that there has been a disconnect between these two countries. He's going to raise the flag there. He's also planning to take a walk, take a stroll in Havana and just meet people. He says, I'm going to meet whoever I meet and listen to them and have, whatever views come at me.
I mean, that is huge. I really envy him. He seems to be on just like a whirlwind tour, doing all these amazing things for the country and for his personal life. I mean, he can say, I'm the first U.S. Secretary of State to
and these are images that are going to go, down in history. Him in the embassy in Havana raising the flag. This is, for him, this is like a low-picking fruit that he can just enjoy.
Iran deal, Havana.
He worked hard. But there's a bit of an issue with meeting Cuban dissidents. There's a lot of pressure for him to meet Cuban dissidents right now and today on Friday. Apparently, he will not meet Cuban dissidents at this ceremony at the embassy, but maybe later at a private, at the hotel where he's staying, he might meet a few, so as not to anger these Cuban officials, because Fidel Castro and Raul Castro, his brother, who is currently the president, will not look at that approvingly. And by the way, Fidel Castro turned 89 yesterday, Thursday.
Yeah, we saw pictures of him as well. I mean, how does he feel about all this? You think he's happy?
He's not too happy. He actually wrote an op-ed. He wrote an op-ed about that America owes Cuba a dozen or more than a dozen $1 million for all the damage that they've done for the embargo. And
I thought you were going to say apologies, but I don't know.
He just wants the money.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
Expected. I think we have time
for more.
Yeah,
Sticking with the states, 3 more women are accusing Bill Cosby of sexual assault. That is bringing the number just to under 50. I think it's 48 or 49 women that have come out and saying that Bill Cosby has sexually attacked them. These 3 are 2 actresses, excuse me, and a former airline stewardess. One of them, Eden Turrell, says that she was locked in a dressing room during a taping of The Cosby Show in 1989. And he harassed her there. The other 2 women, this happened earlier in the 1970s. One of them was a former actress, claiming that Cosby assaulted her in an office in 1971 while she was waiting for a casting interview and forced her to perform oral sex on him. And the third is also from the 70s, said Cosby had lunch with her. She's an airline stewardess. And then he poured champagne into her Gucci shoe, and she drank from it and then fell asleep.
Wow.
And that is when she was molested, only to find out.
Drugging. It's just so upsetting because, with every single case, it seems like the woman remembers it like it was yesterday. And she can just recount such detail. And you just hope that he comes to justice. It's really upsetting. Well, Ami, thank you very much for this press review. You will be joining us later on. So coming up next, why are women taking to the streets of Tel Aviv? We'll have a look at the annual Slut Walk. Stay tuned for more of the headlines. Welcome back. It's still Friday, August 14, 2015, and this is still the morning edition on the I-24 News. Thank you for staying with us. Now, on to our next story. It's become a transnational movement that has even made its way to Israel. The Slut Walk, originating in Toronto, was a mass protest against explaining or excusing rape by citing an aspect of a woman's appearance, be it the way she dresses or what she drinks, calling for an end to the culture of rape. The rallies began after a Canadian police officer in 2011 suggested women should, quote, avoid dressing like sluts, meant to be a precaution against sexual violence. So here in Tel Aviv, people will take to the streets for the 4th year in a row to protest the prevalence of sexual violence in Israel and around the world. Many women may be scantily dressed, rejecting the notion of victim shaming. So joining us from the preparations of today's Slut Walk is our culture correspondent, Ronnie Stav. Hi, Ronnie, good morning. So what's taking shape there and what's going to take place soon?
Hi, good morning. So yes, we are here in Kikar Habima this morning. Men and women are starting to gather here today in front of the Slut Walk protest that will start on later on today. As you guys were mentioning, this is a protest against the rape culture, against the culture of objectifying women, after the statement of Michael Sarganiti in Toronto 5 years ago, that he was mentioning that a precaution for women in order to avoid rape and violence against women is to stop dressing like whores. With me today is Maya Hollander, one of the organizers of Slut Walk this year. Hello, Maya. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you.
So in the event this year, how many people are you expecting to be here?
Well, we're expecting about 1,500 people. The event had 2,100 people. It depends on how hot it's going to be today.
Fair enough. And you feel that every year there's more of an awareness for people to come and join you guys here?
Absolutely. Last year, there were less people in the Jerusalem Slut Walk that was just held a few months ago, 1 or 2 months ago. There were about 500 people, and today we're expecting so many more. It's definitely the raising of the awareness that's going around in all parts of Israeli culture.
And you were mentioning Israeli culture. This is a global phenomena. It's okay. People, women and men are walking all around the world in order to raise awareness. Do you feel that Tel Aviv is different in any way from all around the world?
Definitely not. The statistics about rape and rape culture are the same in most parts of the world. They're actually very, very similar. Tel Aviv is not different from any other city in Israel or any other city in the world when it comes to rape culture and the statistics about rape and sexual assault.
And in the past couple of years, we're seeing two different streams. In one way, we're seeing a lot of objectification of women, Kim Kardashian and the culture that she brings with her. And in the other way, that we see that there's more power to women, even when they decide to take their clothes off. It looks like it's a little bit more of their choice. Do you feel a little bit of that trend coming in to Tel Aviv and all around the world?
Yes, the Slut Walk wouldn't have been possible if there hadn't been the awareness that's been growing in recent years because of feminism, because of all kinds of social justice movements that have caused women to actually see themselves as more than just objects. We see ourselves as people now. We demand our rights. And this is something that's happening all over the world, and it's definitely a reason that the Slut Walk is becoming so big.
That's amazing. And you were mentioning right now, you said people, really to try and really focus on that. Do you see in the Slut Walk, men versus women, age range, do you see that it's coming all throughout the spectrum?
Well, yes, there are a lot of men that want to come and support, and of course a lot of men who also deal with sexual assault and rape culture who come and want to raise their voices. There are people of all ages here. There is a group of mothers that I heard of that want to come here with their children and protest against rape culture. A lot of teenage girls, most of the organizers and the people who arrive here are in their teens or in their early 20s. But there are people in all age groups and every gender. It's absolutely amazing the amounts of people that you'll see here today.
It is absolutely amazing. Maya Hollander, thank you so much for taking the time. I hope that we will see this Habima Square and all around is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger with people that understand how important that is. Thank you so much.
Ronnie Staub, thank you so much for this interview, obviously, with the organizer of the Slut Walk in Tel Aviv. Thanks for this. And so joining us again is Ami Kaufman. So I just want to talk about that Slut Walk. I mean, imagine being that police officer. I mean, he totally deserves it, first of all.
Totally.
But he made one terrible comment, and now all around the world.
All around the world, he has marches just because of him.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if he's still working as a police officer.
I doubt it. I actually Googled him last night because I was like, what did this guy look like? You know,
what does he look? Is he what you expected?
I think he has he looks like a typical cop, but I don't know. There were a bunch of people with the similar name, doctors, professors. What do you have? But I think he's probably trying to just go off the grid. This guy.
But it's a good thing at the end of the day. It's raising awareness. So maybe from his stupid remarks, something good will happen.
Completely, because it's jarring to see this. I mean, we saw some images of women in their underwear, essentially.
Yeah.
But they're saying, you know what, we can do this. We're free to do whatever we want. And it's a safe way for them to do it.
I hope a lot of people come today, and I hope it's not too hot.
I hope so too. I hope so too. So moving on now to your segment, the web review, viral spiral goodness. Yeah.
Let's see what's going on the web. Here's something actually from Turkey, and it has to do with ISIS. There are actually people that are making some money because of ISIS wearing beards, and that is barbers. Now, people in Turkey do not want to be associated with ISIS warriors who have these long beards, so they're now going to barbershops in throngs to get their beards shaved off.
So it's become a trend.
It's become a trend. because there was the trend, you know, I guess maybe not only as an Islamic trend, but also kind of like a hipster thing going on.
Totally. I mean, we see this here in Israel and
even a little in Turkey. People are wearing beards a lot.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
No.
They don't want to be recognized as ISIS warriors, especially because Turkey is arresting a lot of people. And so I just thought that was
probably also very practical and a good
very
move.
practical, yes. Here is a woman. This is from Board Panda. Her name is Tal Peleg. Let me see. I want to ask you what you think about this artwork that she does. She uses for her canvas. She uses eyes, her eyes basically. She's got over like 100,000 followers on Instagram and Facebook.
I've actually heard of her.
You've heard of her?
Yeah, I must be honest. I've heard of her.
Is she Israeli, by the way? I think I don't know because she sounds.
Yeah,
the name is.
Yeah, I think she is Israeli.
Look at that. That's the Salvador Dali melting.
I don't know how people have the patience
emojis.
to do this, but it's incredible.
She says that it takes hours to make one of those.
I mean, look at those little details.
There's
those
Rapunzel.
Wow.
Aren't they pretty?
That's unreal.
So we're going to see you wearing one of those.
Yeah, let's do it. You know, for Halloween, it's not so far away. Let's rock some of this eye artwork.
It's pretty nice.
That one's a good one for Halloween. This is incredible.
Little Prince.
Yeah. So I have heard of her. I mean, she has some traction in the makeup world.
You
definitely.
Really? Well, she's obviously very talented.
Yeah.
Very, very talented.
Very talented. Very cool.
I like it.
Yeah, me too.
Here's a viral video. This is coming from TMZ. When you combine fireworks and art, this is happening in China. And tell me what song, by the way, comes into your mind after you see this video. Let's see this video.
That would definitely be Stairway to Heaven for 3 points.
There you go. Well done. This was done by a pyrotechnic artist. His name is Kei Guiqiang. I hope I didn't butcher his name. And he designed this called Sky Ladder, and it was set off in the Quanzhou city in China. And it was raised into the air by a weather balloon that pulled over 1,600 feet of wire studded with fireworks and gunpowder. And it dedicated it to his grandmother, who recently turned 100 years old.
So we can't see the balloon that's pulling it.
We can't see the balloon. Not in this. I didn't see in the rest of the video either. But
so cool. It's like the opposite of Frozen. You know how she just kind of builds a castle and builds things with her hands.
That's right.
This is like Frozen, but on fire.
On fire, yeah.
That is really.
They should make a movie about fire for a Disney movie about Fire Princess. Now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Give Elsa a run for her money.
Yeah.
This is very cool.
It's pretty cool. I like it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's something, another one from a Board Panda. I don't know how they did not think about this early. Do you have a cat, by the way?
No, I have
You don't have a cat? Well,
dogs.
I've had cats in the... you're a dog person.
I'm a dog
right?
person.
I'm kind of both dog and cat. This is a laptop scratching post. Let's see the picture there. Look at that. Why didn't they think of, you know how cats always try to sit on your computer while you're working?
Oh yeah, that's
Why not get them a laptop scratch post that looks exactly like a computer, and he can just sit there and scratch. You see where the keyboard is supposed to be? It's like that little cardboard scratch post.
That is a really good idea.
That's
Why do
genius.
cats do that? Are they trying to actually use the computer? Or are
they
trying
want your
to...
attention. They want to bother you.
Okay.
They want to destruct your life.
Well, if it's something for them, then will they use it? I mean, if
I don't
you're
know.
not
That's a
using
good
it.
point. There might be. Well, I don't know. It's only $35. So I guess if you want to invest $35 and see if it works, I would do it.
That's funny, and that'll make for some cute pictures and videos on the web.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I like this next viral video. This is a guy. This is from BuzzFeed. This is a guy who tried out for the all-female Miami Heat dance squad. There were some trials, and he slayed it. There was on August 2nd. They held auditions for its dance squad, and there was all women and one guy. And let's take a look at how this guy did.
Okay. Slayed indeed, I would say.
That was pretty good. This guy is good.
Awesome.
This guy's name is Keith Wilson. He said he's been dancing since he was a kid. And,
wow.
He didn't make it. He made it to the next stage after this. He made it to the next stage after this, but he didn't make it to the boot camp. He's saying it's because of his gender.
I think so.
The Miami Heat did not respond to BuzzFeed's questions about this.
So you said this video went viral.
Yes, it went viral.
It would have been a smart move on them to hire him because people would have come out, made more videos, maybe people who would have attended games just to see this guy.
Definitely to see the guy who's dancing with all the girls. And, and I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah, I think he stands out to me. I mean, the girls in the background, yeah, they're good, but
and the crowd is cheering for him for every move that he does.
You know, I think they need to rethink this.
You think so?
If you're listening right now,
Miami Heat, should we send them some kind of letter or, you know, protest?
Absolutely. I mean, he's awesome.
He's good.
He should definitely be hired.
Definitely.
You got my hire.
Okay, this next one's from People Magazine. William Shatner. His friend Leonard Nimoy died in February. He missed the funeral. He didn't make it. On August 1st, Shatner was 84 now. He asked his Twitter followers to send him photos of themselves flashing that traditional the Vulcan salute. I can't do it in my hands.
Yeah.
The live long and prosper salute. And about 6,000 people sent it to him. This is what he did. He made that photo montage. See, all those pixels are basically 6,000 pictures of selfies of people doing the Vulcan salute.
Gorgeous.
Isn't that great?
Too
That's a
bad
nice little
Nimoy isn't
tribute.
here to see that, because that's incredible.
I guess Shatner kind of felt he had to do that because he missed the funeral, and
that's a really nice gesture.
That's a nice gesture.
That's beautiful too.
It's pretty. Yeah, it is. It's really pretty.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a weird one. I hope you're ready for this.
I'm ready.
This is kind of odd, a little bizarre.
The weirder the better on me.
I didn't know that about you, right?
Oh, yeah.
A fish, let's see this headline too. Let's see this BuzzFeed headline. A fish attacked a man's nipple and proved no one is safe in the world. This is how BuzzFeed is framing this story. This is true. Now, I don't know why this man is sitting in a boat. It's like a boat full with fish, a little goldfish. But there's no explanation here in BuzzFeed. But let's see the video, what happens.
Oh, there's a video?
Yeah, see, he's actually aiming. As you can see, he's looking. Oh! He latches on for a second or two.
And then he hangs on.
And he hangs on. And
what's he doing in there?
I don't know.
All these biting
it's very
fish.
odd. I don't know. The guy's name is Wyatt Green. He said he was just chilling with the fishes, and he had that waterproof GoPro under the water there, and then that fish just look. He takes aim. He's like getting.
Oh my God! That must have hurt.
I think
really
it looks a little pain. Well, Wyatt looks like he's smiling afterwards.
Yeah.
Maybe he liked it. It's a little kinky there.
That is a little kinky. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, maybe he just stayed there for a few hours just doing that.
Very odd. Very odd.
That is very strange.
I told you. I warned you it was going to be odd this morning,
right? It just doesn't make sense. That's why it's so strange. Why would you do that?
What, are you talking about the fish? Why would you do that?
Why would you sit in a tub of fish filming underneath?
I don't know. Americans are weird, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we are, I must say.
Tom Brady. Tom Brady is a very attractive man. Would you agree? He's a very attractive man. He's married to Giselle Bundchen. He went to court yesterday because of Deflategate. I don't know if all of our viewers know what Deflategate is, but he's been accused in one of the championship games of throwing a football that had less air pressure in it so he could grasp it better. That's I digress. He had his day in court. Nobody was talking about what happened in the courtroom. Everybody's talking about the courtroom sketches that came out afterwards because they look nothing like him. As you can see him, the second man from the right.
What?
They look nothing like him, and the internet went crazy afterward, and they did some memes. That's a close-up, actually, of how he looks. And let's see. He looks like here he looks like a Quasimodo.
Oh, no. So the internet has started the memes.
The internet started the memes. Looks like Quasimodo here.
He looks like a zombie.
That does not look anything like Brady at all. Here is the Michael Jackson
well, I think it's
real
safe to
thriller.
say that, the top three court artists, sketch artists, were sick that day.
Really?
They just probably called in, the intern.
It was,
sketches.
It was so bad that the New York Times actually reached out to the artist. This is the, Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lambs.
Oh my God.
The New York Times reached out to the artist, Jane Rosenberg, who said, "I apologize to Tom Brady for not making him as good looking as he is."
That is too funny. That is hilarious,
Isn't it?
Yeah, that's great. I love it. Well, we do finish with that terrible sketch. Thank you so much for that. The fish nipple thing I can't get out of my head. Hopefully by the weekend I can.
I hope so.
Thanks for being here. Coming up next, the cultural renaissance of Syria's Kurdish population, dating in Kuala Lumpur, and so many viral videos. Yes, it's the best of this week's Morning Edition. We'll be back with a new show on Monday. Stay tuned for more of the headlines.